Welcome to Book Summary 101, the channel where we bring you clear, simple, and practical summaries of the world's greatest books. Today's summary is from Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is a fantasy novel that introduces us to a world of magic, war, darkness, and hope. The story takes place in a country called Ravka, which has been divided for years by a dangerous and unnatural darkness known as the Shadowfold. The Shadowfold is a black, terrifying wasteland filled with flying monsters called the Volcra. These creatures hunt humans, making it nearly impossible to cross from one side of Ravka to the other. Because of this, trade, travel, and even survival have become extremely difficult for the people of Ravka. The novel follows a young girl named Alina Starkov. At the start of the story, Alina is an ordinary orphan, raised with her best friend Mal. Both Alina and Mal grew up in an orphanage where they had to rely on each other for strength and survival. Alina always felt a little weak, small, and unimportant. She didn't believe she had any special talents or qualities, and most of the time, she thought of herself as invisible. When the story begins, Alina and Mal are now working for the army of Ravka. Mal is a skilled tracker, someone who can follow the faintest traces of animals or enemies in the wild. Alina, on the other hand, is a map maker. This might sound like a simple job, but in Ravka, maps are very important because soldiers must travel through dangerous and unfamiliar places. Still, Alina often feels her job is not as impressive as Mal's. The big turning point happens when Alina and Mal's regiment is ordered to cross the Shadowfold. The fold is so dangerous that every trip across it is filled with fear. Soldiers and travelers ride in special sand-skimming ships that float across the sands of the fold. But even with weapons and protection, most people don't survive the journey. As Alina and Mal enter the fold with their unit, their worst fears come true: the Volcra attack. These terrifying creatures swoop down from the darkness, clawing and tearing soldiers apart. The soldiers fight back with guns and magic, but the monsters are too many. In that moment of chaos, Mal is grabbed by one of the Volcra. Alina, terrified at the thought of losing her best friend, throws herself toward him. She refuses to let Mal be taken. In her desperation, something inside her bursts free. A blinding light explodes from Alina, pushing back the monsters and filling the fold with brightness. The Volcra scream and flee from the light. When the light fades, everyone is shocked. What just happened? Soldiers and survivors stare at Alina. She doesn't understand either. But in that moment, her life changes forever. It is soon revealed that Alina is not ordinary at all. She is actually a Grisha. The Grisha are people with magical abilities, respected and feared in Ravka. They are trained from a young age to master their powers and serve the kingdom. There are different types of Grisha. Some control fire, water, wind, or earth. Others can heal, fight, or manipulate the human body. But Alina is something much rarer. She is a sun summoner, someone who can summon and control pure sunlight. Why is this so important? Because sunlight is the one power that could destroy the Shadowfold. For years, Ravka's rulers and Grisha leaders have searched for a sun summoner, hoping to find someone who could end the curse of the fold. Many thought such a person was only a legend. And now, suddenly, this quiet, weak girl Alina turns out to be the one they have been waiting for. After her powers are discovered, Alina is taken away from her unit, away from Mal, and brought to the court of the Grisha. She is introduced to the leader of the Grisha, a man known as the Darkling. The Darkling is powerful, mysterious, and feared. He has the ability to control shadows, the very opposite of Alina's power of light. He is also charismatic, intelligent, and seems to understand Alina in ways no one else does. The Darkling tells Alina that she has an important destiny. If she learns to control her power, she could be the key to saving Ravka and destroying the Shadowfold once and for all. Alina struggles with this new reality. She never wanted to be special. She never wanted to be separated from Mal. Now she is placed in a world of elegance, wealth, and pressure, where she must train with other Grisha and learn skills she never dreamed of. But unlike them, she feels insecure and unprepared. While the others grew up knowing their gifts, Alina has spent her life hiding hers. She doesn't even understand how to use her power properly. In her training, Alina faces many challenges. Some Grisha treat her with jealousy or suspicion. Others are curious, but she never feels fully accepted. She is forced to push herself physically and mentally to awaken her gift of light. And yet, she often fails. She feels tired, drained, and discouraged. She wonders if she is truly meant to be the Sun Summoner. One of the key struggles Alina faces is her own self-belief. For so long, she saw herself as weak and unimportant. This mindset keeps her from embracing her true potential. Her teachers remind her that to unleash her power, she must let go of her fear, her doubts, and even her attachment to Mal. But letting go of Mal is something Alina cannot do easily. He has been her anchor all her life, and the thought of losing him breaks her heart. Meanwhile, the Darkling takes a special interest in Alina. He encourages her, pushes her, and shows her kindness. He tells her she is destined for greatness, that she alone can change the fate of Ravka. He speaks with such certainty and charm that Alina begins to believe him. For the first time, she feels seen, valued, and powerful. She starts to think that maybe she does have a purpose, and that purpose might be bigger than anything she ever imagined. But even as Alina begins to adapt to her new life, something feels off. The Darkling is too perfect, too smooth, too convincing. The court politics are full of secrets and hidden agendas. Alina struggles to know whom she can trust. Is the Darkling truly a savior who wants to save Ravka, or does he have his own darker plans? This question grows more important as Alina learns more about herself and her gift. She realizes that power, no matter how bright, comes with responsibility and danger. The story begins to show that light and darkness are not always simple opposites. Sometimes darkness hides in the places we least expect, and sometimes light can be used for harm as well as good. As part 1 of our summary closes, we leave Alina at a point where she has discovered her identity as the Sun Summoner, begun her training, and stepped into a world of power and politics she never asked for. She is torn between her longing for Mal, her confusion about her destiny, and her growing bond with the Darkling. Her journey has only just begun. As Alina settles into her new life among the Grisha, the weight of her destiny begins to press down on her more heavily each day. The palace is beautiful, filled with golden halls, silk gowns, fine foods, and endless luxuries that Alina never knew existed in her orphan life. But despite the luxury, she often feels like an outsider. She misses Mal deeply. She worries that her bond with him will fade as she becomes more entangled in this new world of power. Her training continues, and she is pushed to discover the limits of her ability. Her instructors remind her that her gift is rare and dangerous, and the only way she can master it is by truly embracing who she is. But embracing her power means letting go of her old self, the insecure orphan girl who always stood in Mal's shadow. The conflict between her old life and her new destiny eats away at her. One of the most important lessons Alina learns is that her power is not something she can borrow or force. It is not just about creating light with her hands, but about becoming the light itself. She must find confidence not in others' approval, but in her own belief. The harder she tries to cling to Mal, to the comfort of her past, the weaker her abilities seem. The more she accepts her unique role, the stronger she becomes. This internal struggle mirrors a deeper theme of the story. To grow, sometimes we must leave behind what is familiar, even when it hurts. Meanwhile, the Darkling becomes more and more involved in Alina's journey. He visits her often, offering encouragement and guidance. He speaks about destiny and greatness, and how together their powers of light and shadow could reshape Ravka. Alina feels drawn to him, not only because of his power and charm, but also because of the way he seems to understand her loneliness. For a girl who spent most of her life feeling invisible, this attention is intoxicating. The bond between them begins to blur the lines between mentor and something more. There are moments of closeness, almost like romance, and Alina finds herself confused by her emotions. She still loves Mal, but he feels far away now, almost unreachable. The Darkling, on the other hand, is present, powerful, and seems to offer her a place in the world she never thought she would belong to. But as Alina grows closer to the Darkling, she begins to hear whispers, rumors, and suspicions from others at court. Some people fear the Darkling's power. Others suggest that he may not be as noble as he appears. Alina tries to ignore these doubts, but they gnaw at her. After all, how can someone who controls shadows be completely trustworthy? The story takes a darker turn when Alina learns of a magical object called the stag's antlers. This object is what's known as a Grisha amplifier. Amplifiers are rare and powerful objects that can strengthen a Grisha's ability, making them far more dangerous and unstoppable. The Darkling tells Alina that if she obtains this amplifier, the antlers from a legendary stag in the northern forests, her power would grow strong enough to finally destroy the Shadowfold. At first, this sounds like hope, but as Alina reflects on it, she realizes that the amplifier would also make her power dependent on something outside of herself. Worse, she would have to kill this sacred creature to claim its strength. The idea weighs heavily on her heart. It symbolizes a moral test. Does she want to seek more power, even if it means sacrificing innocence to gain it? As these questions swirl in her mind, Alina receives an unexpected shock. She learns the truth about the Darkling. Far from being the savior of Ravka, he is actually the one who created the Shadowfold centuries ago. His goal is not to destroy it, but to control it, to use it as a weapon, to conquer and rule. The Fold is his creation, born from his greed for power, and he now wants to harness Alina's light to expand his control over Ravka and beyond. This revelation shatters Alina. The man she had begun to trust, even to care for, is not a hero but a manipulator. His charm, his kindness, and his promises were all part of his plan to trap her. By controlling her, the Darkling could bend her light to his will and make himself invincible. Alina realizes she must escape before it's too late. But escaping is not simple. The Darkling's power is immense and the palace is filled with his loyal followers. Worse, Alina has begun to doubt her own strength again. If she cannot control her power fully, how can she resist him? This inner struggle mirrors the outer danger she faces. At this point in the story, the bond between Alina and Mal re-emerges. Though separated for much of the time, fate brings them back together. Mal has been searching for Alina, worried about her safety. When they reunite, it is both joyful and painful. Joyful because their deep bond is rekindled, but painful because so much has changed between them. Alina is no longer the same girl she was, and Mal is no longer the boy she left behind. Yet their loyalty and love remain strong. Together, Alina and Mal decide they must find the magical stag before the Darkling does. If the Darkling gains the amplifier first, Alina will never be free. This quest becomes a symbol of resistance and hope. The journey to find the stag is filled with hardship, cold forests, hunger, fear of being hunted. But it also brings Alina and Mal closer, reminding them of their shared past and the trust they have in each other. Along the way, Alina begins to see a change in herself. The more she is with Mal, the more she feels grounded. Unlike the Darkling, who pushes her toward ambition and control, Mal reminds her of who she truly is, a girl who loves deeply, who cares for others, and who must fight not only for power, but for what is right. With Mal, she finds the courage to accept her gift not as a curse or a burden, but as something she can use to protect, not dominate. Eventually, Alina and Mal do find the stag, but before they can act, the Darkling and his forces catch up to them. In a heartbreaking twist, Mal is unable to stop the Darkling from claiming the stag's life. The Darkling kills the sacred creature and forces Alina to accept the amplifier, binding the stag's power to her. This moment is crushing for Alina, because the amplifier is supposed to make her stronger, but in reality, it makes her a prisoner. The Darkling explains that because he killed the stag, he controls the amplifier and therefore controls her power. Alina's gift, her freedom, her very identity, is now tied to him. It is a cruel and terrifying fate. She feels trapped, betrayed, and hopeless. With Alina under his control, the Darkling moves forward with his plan. He takes her back into the Shadowfold, bringing powerful nobles and rulers to witness what he claims will be Ravka's salvation. He pretends to show that with Alina's light, he can banish the fold forever. But instead, he reveals his true plan: to use her light to control the darkness and expand it, crushing his enemies and seizing power for himself. As the nobles watch in horror, the Darkling unleashes the fold's power on a nearby enemy city, destroying it completely. The world now sees his strength. The rulers understand that resisting him will only bring destruction, and Alina, trapped by the amplifier, feels powerless to stop him. This part of the story highlights one of the central themes of the book: the danger of unchecked power. The Darkling wanted control above all else, and by using fear, manipulation, and Alina's gift, he nearly succeeds. Alina, on the other hand, struggles with the opposite problem: too much self-doubt, too much hesitation. The balance between light and darkness is not just about magic, but about choice, belief, and courage. As Part 2 closes, Alina is at her lowest point. She has been captured, bound by the amplifier, and used as a weapon by the Darkling. The boy she loves is at risk. The future of Ravka is darker than ever, and her own destiny seems stolen from her hands. But deep inside her, a spark still remains. The spark of hope, of light, of resistance. And in Part 3 we will see whether that spark can grow strong enough to fight back against the overwhelming shadow. Inside the Shadowfold, Alina finds herself standing at the edge of despair. She is trapped, bound to the amplifier by the Darkling's will. Around her, nobles and soldiers watch, believing that the Darkling is the savior of Ravka. He holds Alina as proof of his control, twisting her gift into a weapon of fear. The fold itself, a place of endless night and terror, becomes his stage to demonstrate his absolute power. Mal is there too, brought along by the Darkling as a prisoner. Seeing Mal in danger cuts Alina deeply. For years she has drawn her strength from her bond with him, and now the thought of losing him forever threatens to break her. The Darkling knows this and uses it to his advantage, mocking Alina's weakness, reminding her that as long as he controls the amplifier, he controls her. The darkness spreads around them. The Volcra swoop and circle, their screeches echoing through the fold. The nobles who once believed they were safe begin to realize the truth. They are pawns in the Darkling's game. Panic sets in, but the Darkling stands firm, his shadow power wrapping everything in terror. Alina feels the weight of failure pressing down on her, but in that moment of hopelessness, something shifts inside her. She remembers the stag, the sacred creature she tried to spare. She remembers the way its eyes met hers before its death, almost as if it had chosen her. Though the Darkling believes he controls her because he killed the stag, Alina realizes something important. True power is not given by violence or control. It is chosen by mercy and intention. The stag did not fight her when she had the chance to kill it. She showed it compassion, and in that choice, she realizes the bond of the amplifier belongs to her, not to the Darkling. The power is hers because of her mercy, not his cruelty. This realization changes everything. For the first time, Alina stops fearing her power. She accepts it fully, not as a curse or as something to be controlled by others, but as part of who she is. In that moment, she breaks free of the Darkling's hold. The light inside her bursts forth, brighter than ever before, pushing back the shadows. The Darkling, stunned, tries to reassert his control, but it is too late. Alina has reclaimed her freedom. The amplifier is hers alone now, bound by choice, not force. With this newfound strength, she unleashes her light across the fold, holding the Volcra at bay and creating a chance for escape. She turns to Mal, and their eyes meet. Even in the chaos, their bond gives her the courage to act. She knows she cannot destroy the fold yet, not completely, but she can save herself and those who matter most. Alina makes a daring choice. Instead of trying to defeat the Darkling in that moment, she focuses on saving Mal and escaping the fold. Using the blazing power of her light, she blinds the nobles and soldiers, creating confusion. The Volcra, drawn to the chaos, descend upon the Darkling's forces. In the struggle, the Darkling is pulled into the shadows, his fate uncertain. With Mal at her side, Alina flees, racing through the fold with the light protecting them. For the first time, she feels in control, not just of her gift, but of her life. She is no longer the frightened orphan who doubted her worth. She is the Sun Summoner, a girl who carries the power of hope itself. The escape is not easy. Every step is filled with danger. The Volcra chase them, the shadows try to close in, and the fear of being recaptured lingers in Alina's mind. But together, she and Mal push forward, determined to survive. When they finally emerge from the fold into the open world, they collapse with relief. The sky above feels brighter, the air fresher, as if freedom itself has returned to them. From this point, the story shifts. Alina and Mal are fugitives now. The world believes the Darkling has been defeated, but Alina knows better. Someone with his power and ambition does not vanish so easily. The threat of his return hangs over her like a storm cloud. She understands that the battle is not over, it has only just begun. Still, there is a sense of hope. Alina has accepted her role, embraced her gift, and chosen her own path. She is no longer simply reacting to the world around her. She is acting with purpose. Her love for Mal anchors her, reminding her of who she truly is beneath the title of Sun Summoner. Together, they begin a journey not just to survive, but to prepare for the greater fight ahead. One of the key lessons from this part of the book is about the nature of power and control. The Darkling believed that power could be taken, stolen, or forced. But Alina learns that true strength comes from within, from choice, and from compassion. The stag's gift was not won by violence, but by mercy. This lesson reflects one of the story's central themes. Light is not simply the absence of darkness, but a force shaped by kindness, courage, and will. Another lesson is about identity. Alina spent much of her life hiding, convinced she was ordinary, fearful of standing out. But by the end of the story, she has embraced her true self. She is still Alina, the orphan, the mapmaker, the girl who loves Mal, but she is also the Sun Summoner, a leader and a symbol of hope for Ravka. Her identity is not one or the other, it is both. This teaches us that we do not need to give up who we are to grow. We can become more, while still holding on to the core of ourselves. The story also highlights the importance of trust and loyalty. The Darkling manipulated Alina by isolating her, by making her doubt Mal, and by convincing her that she was alone. But when she remembered her bond with Mal, when she trusted the goodness of her own heart, she found the strength to resist. This shows how love, friendship, and loyalty are not weaknesses, but powerful sources of courage. As the first book of the trilogy, Shadow and Bone ends on a mix of hope and uncertainty. Alina and Mal have escaped, but the Darkling is not gone. The Shadow Fold still exists, and the future of Ravka hangs in the balance. Yet Alina's journey from weakness to strength, from doubt to belief, leaves us with the promise that light can grow even in the darkest of times. It also leaves us with questions. How will Alina continue to grow as the Sun Summoner? Can she truly master her gift and one day destroy the Fold? What will happen when the Darkling returns, as surely he must? And how will her bond with Mal survive the challenges ahead? These questions set the stage for the sequels, keeping readers eager to continue the journey. Thank you for listening to this summary of Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. If you found it valuable, please subscribe to Book Summary 101 and press the bell icon so you never miss our future summaries. This channel is made for book lovers who want to keep learning and growing every day. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below and tell us which book you want us to summarize next. Your suggestions help us bring you the stories and lessons that matter most.